It feels like nowadays, and especially with people in Gen Z, that there are so many bad financial decisions and traps that we can find ourselves in. You know, from not saving money to splurging on your weekly Hinge date, there are so many little things that can secretly be making us broke. So I made a tier list of habits that are killing our pockets. And before you click off thinking, oh, this is just another preachy finance video, don't worry, because I made a 3-tier system and the habits progressively get more unique and more niche. And I promise this will not be a video where I just rant about how buying coffee every day is making you poor. Nah. These habits are deeper and I can guarantee they are better than that shit. So the first tier of habits that are making us broke is what I like to call advice that your grandma would give you. Think of this like advice that you've heard before. You know, everybody has heard this and it's for good reason. These habits are kind of like the foundations to prevent you from becoming a broke chud. And since you probably know most of these habits, I'm going to keep this part the shortest. And honestly, the first habit that is killing our pockets and our bank accounts is simply not saving money. As simple as it sounds, when you get a paycheck, you should save part of it, man. This sounds super easy, sounds super simple, but apparently it isn't, because I read an article that over 50% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. So if you think about it, if they need to replace the tires on their car or another big expense comes up, they don't have the money to do that. They would have to take on debt. And I realize, different people have different circumstances, but I think, you should try to at least save at least 20% of your paycheck. And another habit that's keeping us poverty maxing is just taking on bad debt. So this would be having a credit card or taking on large car loans, or even just paying the minimum on your card. That's so bad, because what they do is, it doesn't hurt your credit score, but you end up paying triple the original price because of these high ass interest rates. And even beyond just the credit card debt, if you wanted to take out a personal loan, like I've seen people take out loans to go to Disney, that is nuts. And these debts are really just preventing us from leveling up financially, because, when the paychecks come in, all of it is going towards debt. And one habit that I had to decide, like, what tier should I put it in, and I finally decided to put it in this one. It's for all my homies that are 21 years or older, and it's going out every single weekend. And this is a habit that I think is costing us more than we realize. Like, an Uber to the bar is $50, and then you got to pay a $20 cover to get a $10 drink. All of these costs start to add up, and beyond just the financial consequences of the expensive drinks and car rides and what have you, you usually feel like shit the next day. So you basically lose an entire day to recover from the night out. And I heard this quote that going out and drinking tonight is borrowing happiness from tomorrow. There's only 2 more pieces of advice in this tier list, and one of them is just not investing your money. So once you have savings and you pay down your debt, you should start investing, because once you have excess funds, you gotta invest it. Because if you're young, if you're in your 20s watching this, and I know it's not flashy, it's not sexy, it's not a get rich quick kind of thing, but investing is where I think, your true wealth building truly begins. Even if you're just investing $5 a day, that would add up over time. And if you're watching this in your 20s like me, this is the best time to invest, because, theoretically, we should have the most time for it to compound and we can use it later on. And the final habit that our grandma would want us to stop doing is to stop gambling. Whether it's the traditional casino gambling or gambling on sports, or nowadays you can gamble on the fucking highest temperature in Dallas, Texas. There are so many avenues to gamble your money away. And really, the statistics of you coming out profitable are terrible. So if you want to level up and really stop poverty maxing like I used to, please stop gambling. Because these companies and casinos, they wouldn't give you all these free bonus bets if they weren't making money off of you. They do not care about you. They just want your money. So those were the habits that I would say are pretty common knowledge among everybody. And if you're like, duh, of course, Colby, I know not saving money is bad. Well, lucky for you, because that brings us to my second tier. And I like to call this tier that these are bad habits, but if you're into personal finance at all, you may have heard of them. It's kind of a mouthful, and I know these habits, but they're more low-key than the ones in the grandma tier. And the first habit in this tier is really what's keeping our net worth in the trenches. And I gotta say, this habit is not tracking your expenses or your income for that matter. And I don't mean like just triangulating where every single cent is coming and going into your account. Although if that's kind of your thing, then have at it, by any means, keep doing that. But I mean, just having at least a general idea of how much money you make and where does it go, because I think you'd be really surprised, because I know people who are salaried and you ask them how much do they make a month and they can't tell you because they don't bother paying attention to their bank account. They have no visibility into that. And to me, that's nuts, because without tracking your spending, it's like your money and your credit card bills, they're going into this void and you have no recollection of what it's doing or where it's going. And I know having a system like this is really boring and mundane, but if you can just find something where you can just like download Google Sheets onto your phone or something and make a simple spreadsheet, that way you can write like just the date and the amounts and just maybe the place that you bought this thing from. For example, here's what I use, and it's not perfect by any means. I still miss logging my purchases, but I have a pretty clear idea of how I'm doing for the month. And trust me, guys, tracking your spending will help us financially. And it gives us, this is underrated, it gives us the peace of mind because we have more control over our finances. But that brings me to the second habit in this tier list. And this is for all my people out there who are homeowners or who are renting an apartment. It is being house poor. So this is really a term, being house poor, that means like a majority of your money is being spent on housing, whether it's your mortgage or your rent to your landlord. And if you're living at home with the fam, hey, congrats, bro. I wish I could do that, but you can skip ahead of this point because a majority of people have to pay some sort of cost for their housing, and it's not cheap at all. Now, inherently, housing will be everybody's highest expense, especially on a month-to-month basis. But being house poor, or being rent poor for that matter, it goes beyond that. I did some research, and some financial experts say that housing should be no more, so less than 30% of your total income. So you really got to keep that in mind. And I got to say, though, that's kind of tough nowadays, especially like with all this inflation and war and shit going on. And if you're living in a big city like New York or LA or any city in the world that's expensive, you're probably paying like 3,000 USD a month for a small ass studio apartment, man. That shit's tough. But really, at its heart, being house poor means people spend almost all of their take home money on housing, so they're left with $0 after every month. What the really scary part is to me is that this can affect anybody at any income level, not just people making minimum wage. I know there's people out there who make like $250K a year, but they have like a $3 million home. So even though they make so much money, they're strapped for cash because all of it is being sucked into their home, whether it's mortgage or utilities or anything like that. And this leads me to my third habit in this tier, which I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's called lifestyle creep or lifestyle inflation. And I don't know how common this is among the people, but lifestyle inflation, it's one of those things that keep people from really actually growing their wealth. It's crazy because there's probably situations out there where there's like a family of 2 doctors making like $1 million a year, and they're saving less than a couple who are making $100K a year. It's this phenomenon where as soon as you get this big raise, you start spending money just like that. So rather than saving or investing the difference of that raise that you just got, you're spending it. And I don't know, maybe it's people are just trying to impress other people. Maybe it's a psychological thing. I really don't know. But the point is that it's like this hidden inflation that's keeping people broke. And I want to make people aware of the fact that it can be kind of subtle. I like to bring up this example where, imagine you usually kind of get groceries at your budget grocery store. I personally go to Aldi, but you get this nice promotion, and now all of a sudden you're buying Whole Foods groceries, or you're going to Erewhon and you're spending $20 on a gallon of milk. Granted, there may be some like quality differences in what you're buying, but you're not benefiting financially from that raise that you just got because you're spending even more, and your savings rate and spending rate is just crazy. And we got to be careful because this is really a silent wealth killer out there. It's scary. And now the last habit in this specific tier is something that I think is relatively new, but it is very, very popular among people in my generation. And the habit is buying stuff just to buy it. Now with places like Amazon, TikTok Shop, Facebook Marketplace, you can really buy anything that you've ever wanted as easy as possible. All you have to do is just click a couple of buttons on your phone and boom, it shows up to your house and you just spent the money. And since these transactions are so accessible, there really is no barrier or no emotional thought that are being put into purchase nowadays. I like to think of the example of you're on TikTok and someone has this cool looking shirt. You can stay on the app, go to the TikTok shop section, look up the shirt, and buy it within 3 minutes. There's no thinking, there's no reasoning. The scary thing is there's no delayed gratification. It's instant gratification to get that dopamine hit. It's straight chud behavior. And going away from just the financial aspect and onto like the psychological end, there are these shopping addictions out there, and people will use shopping as some sort of coping mechanism. It's like a way because they just want to feel something. And I used to feel like this kind of in middle school. Like I don't know if this is too niche, but if you were like a middle schooler in like the late 2010s, like Nike Elite socks, those were a status symbol back in the day. So I used to ask my mom for her credit card and buy them. And I remember being so freaking happy at the moment of the purchase. And I would only wear them. I would only get the socks and wear them for a couple of times. And this kind of addiction, it really start to add up financially. Like if you look around at the people in your life, how many of them are online shoppers and end up having just so much shit around the house that they never use or maybe used once or twice, and it's just filling their house with clutter, and it's really eye-opening. But that's the end of the second tier, and if you're still around thinking, bro, this is common knowledge, make sure that you are holding on to your socks because they are about to be knocked off with this third and final tier, because I consider this tier, these habits, that they're kind of niche. And they're things you wouldn't normally think of when you listing like bad financial habits. I haven't seen them online, at least. They will hit close to home if you do any of these, and you may even do these without even realizing it. And a lot of you may have these in your life, but a terrible financial habit that I haven't really seen anybody else online is hanging around people or having very expensive friends. And this isn't a knock on anybody's friendships, but we got to be real. If we are struggling financially, and there's a friend or a group of friends that want to fly to the Hamptons or go to Cabo for vacation, you can't go with. You got to say no. But that's where the problem kind of lies. I think people don't want to hurt their quote unquote friends' feelings or seem like some sort of party pooper and say no. So they take on debt with these astronomically high interest rates in order to please their friend group and go on vacation. But Colby, why would anybody want to stay friends with that expensive group? I don't know. That's a great question, but people do. A part of me thinks that it's out of fear or social pressure, and that's why people don't. It's weird because it doesn't even have to be that extreme. Even if you're like going out to eat with a group of friends and you split the bill, rather than buying just what you actually ate and ingested, you split it evenly. Imagine you go to this restaurant and you just get like a ginger ale and everyone else is getting these fucking Aperol spritzes with caviar or something, and you end up paying like $20 just for your ginger ale. Your finances are taking a hit. And this is kind of a deep cut because you don't want to ruin those relationships with your friends. And this is probably like rare, and in a perfect world, you would be able to communicate towards said friend that you're on a budget constraint. And I think that is probably the only thing that you should do is take that avenue. And I suggest to do that. And especially if they really are a great friend, they would understand that you saying no to the Cabo trip isn't a personal knock on them. You're taking responsibility and being a grown adult by putting your finances first. And another niche habit that I've definitely done in the past, and I think it's starting to gain popularity, especially in people in 20s after graduating college, is what I like to call hobby jumping. Like I said, I used to do this all the time, and I still kind of do it, but basically what the premise of hobby jumping is picking up new hobbies, which in it of itself is a great thing to do. I think hobbies are very important, and a lot of people don't have hobbies anymore. I was talking to Mike Deal about this at work. Shout out to Mike Deal once again. And then, so people have these hobbies, and they go all in on them as soon as they start, and they want to buy the best equipment. They want to buy the best gear. And I think pickleball is the perfect example of this because it's gaining popularity. A lot of young people are doing it. It's easy to get into, but you can also spend a bunch of money easily. And there's groups of people who want to get into playing pickleball, which in and of itself, you just need a paddle and a ball. But some people want to get the best equipment right away. You can spend up to like $300 on a paddle or $200 on some shoes. They end up buying that, and then they just play pickleball for maybe 3 months, and then they go on and jump onto the newest hot thing and the newest hobby. And now they want to run a marathon and they want to get the newest Brooks shoes for $250. And it's this constant cycle of having hobbies, which once again is a great thing to have. We're committing too much financial capital initially and never using it. Like we're playing with it for 3 months and we're throwing it in the closet, never looking at it again. And it's the same thing with like cameras and recording equipment. I know a lot of people in the photography business are like this. They buy these $3,000 lenses for the specific moment. They do it maybe once and then they never use it again. It's just killing our bank accounts. And a financially savvy alternative to all of this could be buying, instead of the best pickleball gear right away, you just buy a secondhand paddle and you use your shoes that you've had for years. This way you can save more money and have less financial commitment to doing it. And this is a habit that I haven't seen anyone else really mention in these kind of videos. And I think it's worth noting, especially if you have been doing this unknowingly, it could secretly be costing us thousands of dollars over time. And another habit that kind of relates back to the expensive friend things, and it's this one's for all my good-hearted fellas out there that I want to find love. So this might not apply to everybody, but what I call this one is like a relationship tax. So I'm thinking if you're in the dating pool, and for all the men watching this, which is like 99% of my viewers, if you're taking a girl out on a first date at some like fancy-ish dinner, and you want to be a gentleman, so you pick up this bill, and it comes out maybe like $150. So you buy it, you and her dinner, and then she ghosts you, and then you kind of have to start from square one again. And I've heard a lot of stories like this, especially in big cities like New York City, and it will continue to add up. So this can be a bad habit, because if you're committing like decent amounts of money every single date for a prospective partner, and they could just like leave you with nothing. And I don't want to be on here sounding like some romantic guru or anything, but if you're in a financial state, like a dire financial state, and you want to find love, take your shorty out to the park, go see a movie, go get some coffee at the cafe. That's like $10 maybe on the corner, and you could sit outside on the patio, talk for hours. Really, at the end of the day, I truly believe it's the thought that counts, not like what the final bill or price of what you two are doing. And if you are with a shorty who cares about that kind of thing, that is probably like a glaring red flag, and that's a good sign for you to get the hell out. But now for the final habit of this video that is happening right under our noses and is leaving us broke, is having way too many subscriptions, or not knowing that what we're paying for a subscription. But that's exactly why today's video is sponsored by... No, I'm playing. I don't have a sponsor. But seriously, nowadays, every app, every website, every service kind of requires a subscription. And in my mind, there's not a great way of tracking what you're subscribed to if you don't have like your credit card notifications on. You don't see where the money is. And off the dome, I can name at least like 10 common areas of subscription. So like the gym, Spotify, news articles, AI, DashPash, whatever it is, man, you name it. There's probably some sort of paywall attached. And if you're paying $15 a month for maybe five, 6 services, 6, 7 services, that's like $900 to $1,000 a year going towards stuff that hopefully you're using and it provides value for you. Really, one thing I want to mention earlier is if you're in a great financial standing and you have the funds to do whatever, by all means, enjoy yourself, man. Like these are what we make money for, is to enjoy ourselves. But this is just for all the people out there trying to make it out of their dire situation and kind of start creating financial wealth, or unlocking and seeing these areas, seeing these habits that maybe we don't know that we're doing. I know when I was writing kind of the script for this video, I had to really deep think of, where is my money going? What are some habits that I can improve on? Oh, and one bonus habit that I really just thought of, it's a small amount of money, but you do it a lot of time. It's using substances like weed or alcohol or vaping. Like maybe you're only buying like $20-30 at a time, but if you're dependent on it, you're buying it 4 or 5 times a week maybe. It's so often that it's hard not to mention. And those are just my thoughts. So let me know any other low-key habits that you do, or maybe some ones that I missed that were obvious, and leave it in the comments below. And on top of that, I hope all of you enjoyed the video, and make sure to subscribe. And thank you all so much for watching, and peace.